Hey guys, it's me again, Orcslayer. What if? Where I last left off? Let's see. Checking. And, yeah. So, Elizabeth dead. Jack dead. Ty is free, but he's currently in Africa. And we haven't gotten an update on, Wilford. Probably one of the better, my favorite characters in this. But, sorry, it took a little while. I was putting it off for quite a bit, and I apologize for that. And a bit come up in life. So, as I digress, we continue on with the story, and Deku's pretty much just going around with Ryuko and such. By this point, Wilford, figured Deku was fine. Well, not Deku was fine, but he has been searching for Deku. But by this point, Wilford still had family connections. Connections back in Antarctica, I believe is where I had him at, or Canada, one of those two. He had a few people he was somewhat close with, and recently he heard an old buddy of his had actually died. So he had to leave to go sort with that situation. As he believes Deku, even if he is out there in the wilderness, he believes that Ty, Wilford, and the rest taught him enough to survive for at least a little bit. So as Deku's riding around with Ryuko for a solid half year, as they get to know each other quite a bit, as Deku as Deku and Ryu sort of grow close in a matter of a year, I'll say. So Deku's 15 by this point. As he and Ryuko hang out sometimes, they just hang out. As he is pretty much, I got Samson right here, so sorry if you hear him whining something. He always gets like this. I'm petting you. You look outside. Yes, you are. Right? But anyways, what's happening now is that Deku and her are just sort of becoming close. As she asked him, one night she asked him, she's like, I'm gonna be leaving soon, Deku. I gotta get back to. So, sorry about that. Samson went kinda crazy for a split second for no fucking reason. Dumb dog. Probably saw a light or something stupid. Move over, you dumb dog. Please, move. And I want you guys to know, I ain't abusive to this dog. He just sometimes is an idiot. But he's my little idiot. Ain't that right, Samson? Now, stop going crazy. Whatever you saw. Alright? Good dog. But as she explains to Deku that she's gotta go, and that she was wondering if he wanted to come along, that she could always use more company, as he's dragging me along all this way, so I guess it isn't that much of a difference. Drag me along back to, where are you going? She's like, I'm going back to Japan. He's like, Japan? She's like, yeah, that's where I live. He's like, really? Home? She's like, wait, what do you mean, home? It's like, that's where I lived before I got thrown into all this madness. She's like, really? You never said. He's like, you never really asked. As it's kind of late where they are. So he's like, I'm gonna go to bed. Just tell me when we're going there, alright? Kinda wanna go home. As he puts in a sort of longful tone that he's actually been looking away to get home all this time, as he would put it. That now this chance has come, pretty much just falls right in his lap. He's gonna jump at it, as he does just the thing. He jumps at it. As in this time, Ryuko knows he's a monster, but he just never displays what kind of monster he is. He doesn't transform even in the slightest, because Deku assumes that Ryuko may have more knowledge on this than anything else. So he just sort of goes to the background. As he leaves all that undone, as they have a little trouble at the airport, it's like, come on, what the fuck is... Well, not what the fuck. It's more like, what is taking so long? As Deku's like, I don't know, this is an airport. Incompetence. Laziness. Any excuse you want to take? She's like, man, we gotta talk to you for a minute. As they bring her over with Deku, it's like, we found these smuggled in your bags. As it's like, yo, what are those? He's like, yeah, I'm taking those with me. They're carry-ons. It's like, sir, you need a special thing to have this taken on board. Do you understand that? He's like, and I paid for it. She's like, where is this thing? You never stuck it on here. He's like, they didn't give me a sticker. They told me that I would be taken care of. It's like, sir, you need to calm down. He's like, I am calm. I am calm. It's just that incompetence is what I don't like. What are you pawing at me for? So as Deku just... It's like, alright, just get me the sticker so I can slap it on there. I've already paid for it. She's like, we're going to need reassurance from that. Can you tell us who you asked and talked to them with this about? Some guy who was on the line. Damn it. Stop yawning. As they listen, Deku has to like, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. Forgot I had to give him the sticker. He's like, told you incompetence. Sorry, ma'am, to bother you. You can have the rest of your day to be nice and... Deku goes, so can we leave now? She's like, very much so. As they just get on board and just drive. As unlike other things, this plane has some form of defenses just in case some of those flying creatures decide, like, you know what? That looks like a pretty good thing to tear down. They have defenses on the plane, but this is also patrolled by a route. So it's gonna, like, the airways they take are very controlled. Like, even more so, I would say. Where they have to have constant, like, patrols going back and forth. No, don't make a huffing sound at... That was Samson. I know I'm not paying attention to you, but you need to calm down. Sorry again if this is, like, not what you guys want to hear with me talking to my dog. But it's just something I need to get out of the way. Because, like I said, it's been a while, and I want to keep giving you guys content. Sorry you gotta hear me bicker and sometimes bitch about my dog. Stop it. But anyways. As Deku and Ryuko make it back to the airport, they get his luggage, and then they go back to Ryuko's home, as he's like, this has been a long flight. It has fucking sucked. I want to kill somebody. He's like, we had a few things happen. It's like, yeah, your luggage got stuck. And I found some jackass playing with the two swords. I swear to God, I was about to knock out that guy's teeth. She's like, yeah, if you did that, you'd probably be charged with assault. He's like, fine. As Deku just goes, he's like, alright, where's my room? Or do I sleep in the attic or something? She's like, I got extra rooms, Deku. He's like, alright then. As he walks up and just hangs out in a room that is a guest room, essentially, he's like, oh, take this one. She's like, alright. As they both just, like, go and collapse into bed. As Deku, since the time zones are different, Deku wakes up. Actually, give me a second. So I just looked it up. There isn't that much of a time difference. Just Australia is 2 hours ahead. Australia's just 2 hours ahead of Japan. So he wakes up later than, like, say he was waking up like at 6 a.m. So now he's waking up at 8 a.m. He's like, oh, this is gonna take... As he wakes up, he's like, no, shoot, it's 8. As he gets up, he's like, oh, wait, I ain't surviving out there anymore. Still takes a little bit to get used to. Well, she's like, I'll figure out what to do. For now, I guess is the first time that I'll ever get to really sleep in. Aside from the time I've been hanging around Ryuko, but still, I didn't take any chances there. So as he was always on guard, even with Ryuko. As he eventually wakes up, Ryuko is like sleeping in as well. As well, since Japan, she was like longer than typical. She was like close to maybe over a few hours, like maybe almost a day, like 16 to 18 hours of consecutive being awake. And that was walking, sitting. Alright, I'm gonna explain it real quick. For me, when it's comes to like traveling and such in a car, it's not that I get tired, it's just that all that energy like that I use for a day, instead of it goes from being useful energy to just stagnant. Whereas what I call, instead of useful, not wasteful, just weightful energy, where it's just weighs down on you, where it just becomes stagnant, you could call it. So with Deku in this case, stop trying to get in my face, dog, please. When it comes to Deku, he's just sort of waiting around. As Ryuko wakes up, she's like, hey Deku. He's like, hey Ryuko, what do you need? She's like, well, I'm gonna have to do a few things this month, or this week, before I go back to hero work. He's like, really? What's that? She's like, well, we gotta get you enrolled in hero school. After that, well, we're gonna have to get you, enrolled, not hero school, but in school. And then after that, we'll just have you stay here. He's like, alright then. When exactly will this be? She's like, I'll take you to look over a few schools and such. As far as I can tell, you're pretty good. Like, you're caught up when it comes to going to high school, so you should be good. He's like, alright then. It's like, so, is there anything you want to do? As Deku thinks about it, he's like, he didn't really have much. He just wore, like, when it came to clothes, she did get him more clothes. But he's like, let's get some stuff more suited for Japan. As a lot of the stuff that they have is from Australia, and it's a bit different, I would say. Especially since I believe Australia is hot. So, when it came to this, Deku and her, went out and went shopping, you'd call it. As they went shopping, they got Deku a few things that were in style. As, well, get away from my face. No. Stop it. He's trying to lick my face, by the way. But anyways, as we cut back, Deku is pretty much just living a nice little life with Ryuko. As the thought dawns on him, holy shit, what happened to Ty and Wilford? Wilford, for all he knew, was waiting for him to get out of jail, you could say. Well, he was originally waiting, but then he sort of went off that, little spree of fighting and such in the pit, so yeah, he's gonna definitely have to figure out what happened with him. Maybe he went back to Antarctica, or was it Canada? Damn it, I forget. As he says that, as that's what he says. As things like in Thai, well, I'm gonna have to go make sure he didn't die somewhere. So Deku and Ryuko hanging out, he's like, hey, can you do something for me? She's like, sure, I'll try. He's like, there's a couple of people I need found, or information about. Do you think you could do that? She's like, sure. As Deku never really brought them up. As he's like, could you try to find people by these names, Wilford and Ty? One's a Gamoth, one's a Tigrex. Ty was sold into slavery, you could call it. And, well, Wilford was put in jail for a crime. He's like, don't sound like, well, Ty can understand what happened with Wilford. He's like, a couple of gangs tried to extort us, so he fought back. She's like, okay, I could try to find them. Why? Deku's like, I just want to make sure they're alright. There were what I had for a family for a long time being. Aside from, as he goes quiet for like a solid minute, she's like, aside from who? Nobody. Let's continue on, shall we? As he stands up and walks, as they go home, as a couple of days from then, they go to a school to figure out, as it's a prestigious school, as it's gonna be the same school I did in the original. There's Momo, Deku, Momo, Ida, and Todoroki. So he goes there and just starts listening. As he's brought over, he looks better, you could say. Ryuko had him grow, pretty much had his hair trimmed a bit to make it normal, because before he had it sort of long, so he had it trimmed a little bit. As he's just sitting there, he's just just looking around, and he just eventually gets bored and just wanders off. He roams through the halls as Ida, who is again a girl. There's mainly a lot of girls and guys. No, not mainly girls, but I'll just stick to what I had her. Or had him. As she's like, "You! Who are you and why are you roaming our halls?" He's like, "I'm Deku. And I'm here, my mom." As he's like, "My mom," as he would put it, sounding like quotations. Sorry, my nose is kind of clogged at the moment. So I've had my allergies kick up since there's been a lot of pollen. So sorry. But essentially, he explains his situation as he's like, he was going to take a look around the school. He didn't really expect anyone to be around. She's like, "It is a school day." He's like, you got a point. So, what now? So, as she goes to explain to him some of the areas of the school, and he's like, "Alright, I'm gonna go check some of those out. See you later." Or maybe I won't. Who knows? She's like, "Yeah, maybe you won't. Maybe you will. Have a nice day, Mr. Deku." As he was just like, "There's no need for a Mr. Just put it as Deku." She's like, "Alright then." As she goes off running, as he's like, "That was a weird girl." As he comes across the library, looks around, as he's like, "Whoa, this place is weird." As he just goes wandering, it's just like, any interest in books? As he takes a second, he's like, "Oh, this is stupid." As it's like, "What?" He's like, "Somewhat forgot how to read Japanese a little bit." She's like, "I know how to read English. I can understand Japanese somewhat, but still, it's difficult to relearn a language, even though I spent a year on it." No, I know it seems like I'm making a few loopholes. He relearned reading Japanese, since Ryuko had a few things that Deku would read from time to time. So essentially, he relearned to read Japanese, not relearn to speak it. As he's like, "Well, these are interesting books." As he eventually comes across a girl with red and white hair, as he's like, "Who's she?" As he looks at her and she looks up at him, they sort of lock eyes for a minute and then they both look away. Deku continues to wander, continues to wander. He eventually comes across a set of books. He's like, all about monsters. He's like, "Now this should be interesting." As he starts flipping through the book, he's like, a few of the stuff they got right. Oh yeah, there's a Gammoth. As he starts reading about it, he's like, "I think Wilford was playing himself down lower." Then he dawns on him, what the fuck did he fight? As he remembers that Wilford and that guy caused a lot of damage. By his standards, at least. It's like, wonder what this is. As he looks at this, as he sees, oh, it's sub-variant. Neat. As then he's flipping through the book and eventually arrives at Elders. As he's like, as he flips it open, starts reading. He's like, these are So that's He's like, As then he comes across Nerrgegante. As it goes on a brief explanation, an elder dragon that is known, as he reads it out loud, an elder dragon that is known for eating other elder dragons and gaining power, or sustenance. It is unclear as to why they do this. Deku's like, that's a recent development, jackass. They can't even explain the full history of us. As he always says that under her breath, but Shoto sort of overhears something, doesn't even, she hears, doesn't even represent it that well. As she looks up, as Deku puts the book up, he's like, that's bullshit. After reading that, he sort of lost interest in the book and walks out. As Shoto goes over, as she looks at it, she's like, as she sits down and reads it a bit, she sort of she tries to figure out what was he talking about. She just opened the book randomly and opened to the nerrgegante page. She's like, Nerrgegante. She reads it and she's like, nah, this couldn't be what he was talking about. From what I know, most of those guys are bloodthirsty monsters. I mean, real monsters. Deku's like, of course she is. As he walks away and eventually returns back to the hall, eventually running into Ryuko, she's like, where'd you go? He's like, I went wandering. I found a library. It was nice. And she's like, well, that doesn't matter. Come on. We got you enrolled in the school you'll be starting next week. He's like, whoa, damn. She's like, yeah. Oh, well. We'll get you squared away and see how it goes. He says, well, thanks, Ryuko, for doing this. She's like, I don't mind, kid. You deserve this much, at least. Chance at a normal life. He's like, ain't nothing normal about my life. Ain't nothing gonna be normal about it. And I'm just fine with that. As he's like, I wonder if they have a hunter thing here. She's like, yeah, I already checked about that. They have apprenticeships, but I prefer if you focused on school. You want to become a hero, don't you? He's like, don't they, doesn't being a hunter help with getting into it? Depending on how effective you are, yes, but it takes years for some hunters to be even considerable enough to even become a low-ranking hero. Just because of the different prey they hunt. She's like, good point. Well, thanks again, Ryuko. It's like, no problem. Now it's home. And that's where I'm going to be ending this one off. I'm really sorry it's short, but I thank you guys for being patient and waiting for this. Excuse me, and I hope you guys have a nice day. Hope you guys enjoy this. Hope you guys continue to enjoy this, and I hope you guys have a nice day, nice night, nice life.